Well, hello. It's time for another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the fountain pens and inks I've been using throughout the week. And because I missed last week, thanks to being sick, I have 2 weeks worth of pens. But don't worry, it's only 8. You just get a fresh batch of pens. So let's dive into it. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And I don't have anything too deep this week. My brain is fried on Science Olympiad, so talk amongst yourselves in the comments. Give a couple comments, because I guess it's good for the algorithm. Feed me, says the algorithm. So, before I do something stupid or weird, let's take a look at some pens. Alright, so these are the pens I've been using this week. I'm going to do this as a take 2 because I was just talking along about my pens and all of a sudden the camcorder beeps and says, should I shut down now because you're not doing anything and I want to save my battery? So we'll do it over. So from left to right we have my, yes, and I used a couple of choice words when that happened, and I'll spare you those words. So from left to right, we have the Lamy 2000, Sheaffer Legacy 2, Omas Ogiva, Montblanc Monte Rosa, Turquoise, Montblanc 32, Parker Duofold, international version, Platinum President, and finally a Montblanc 332. And I will just mention that these are all new pens from the last Pens in Use because I was sick last week and filmed nothing. You didn't want to hear me filming. It seems to be the sickness that keeps on giving because my voice isn't quite back yet. My nose isn't totally clear, but holy cow, at least I can feel my fingers and feel my toes now, so that's something. Yeah. Anyway, as always, we'll be doing this in my jellyfish theory notebook. And yeah, I got that far into Pens in Use when I said, oh, doodly darn. So my first pen is my beloved Lamy 2000. This pen is actually new to me this year. I bought an extra fine because the inks I was using, because I'm trying to use up every bottle of black ink that I have, just couldn't hack school paper. So I decided maybe an extra fine would help. And it's definitely developed some wear through the year. I've discovered I prefer a fine to an extra fine. But the Lamy 2000 extra fine still has some character. The ink, Omas didn't make very many black inks. Or I'm sorry, didn't make very many inks at all. Nice bottles though. This Omas black. I don't know if the new version of that company plans to do inks. I hope they'll use the same bottles. But, this black is okay. It's got some shading. Doesn't behave well on lower quality paper. I was told to do my strokes in one direction only, but with this pen it's really not going to make a difference. Because it's supposed to show the shading. I'll just be honest, I'm going to be glad when I use up this bottle of black ink. It's not one I'm particularly enjoying. So to help myself out, I put it in this pen to use at home. Sheaffer Legacy 2. So a couple of my pen pals have gotten letters written in black ink. This, of course, has a much broader nib. It's a medium. Still the same Omas black. But I'm probably going to fill this a couple of times before I clean it out. It is oops, shoot, forgot to do one direction. We'll do it with these. Yeah, a little bit of shading to this ink. I wish it worked better on lower quality paper, but that's another deal. So, yeah, I'll be glad when I use up this bottle of ink and can go on to something else. Got a few bottles of black to use up yet. Did give one away to a student, so that was awesome. So I don't have to use that one up. Yeah. We get to our Omas Ogiva. So there is a new version of this pen. I have heard from people that it's not the same pen, but I haven't seen a side-by-side comparison, so I'm looking forward to that video coming out someday. I imagine a lot of the people who have reviewed the newer version of this pen maybe got it on loan from a retailer, so they're kind of loath to say anything bad about it. I don't have a horse in that fight, because I don't have any special deals with retailers. I have worked with one or two retailers, not at any benefit to myself, just for fun. I worked with Apple Boom Pennon for, did 2 shows with them. And 3 shows. I think 3 shows. And I'm trying to remember who's the other one I worked with. Oh, sort of with Proto Pens. And of course, Big Vintage Pen. But we don't talk about that except on April 1st. So Omas Ogiva, the ink in this is Omas Gray. A very nice gray, I will say. If this one were still produced, I think this would be my Survivor Gray. But sadly, it is no longer produced, but I think you can see maybe why I like it. Very nice shading, very nice color. What I'm going to do, eventually I'll settle on a gray. There's a certain one that's a Roshizuku that I really liked. I think after I use this bottle up, I think this is my last bottle of gray ink. I think I will buy a bottle of that, and that will be my gray ink. Yeah, I want to reduce my number of inks in my collection. This is my Montblanc Monte Rosa Turquoise. So Monte Rosa is kind of their discount version. I don't think they have Monte Rosa anymore, but they did. This is a very 60s looking pen with a steel nib. Yeah, a steel nib from a Montblanc. And I can't find a bird splat anywhere. And suddenly I am seeing what looks horrifyingly like a crack. And I dug at it with my fingernail, and yeah, it is a crack. Oh, sad day. So I'm going to have to see if there's parts out there, because I really like this pen. So this is a Montblanc Monte Rosa. I can't remember the nib size, but it doesn't really matter. This has Sailor Gentle Apricot in it. I don't know what would have caused that crack. I don't remember ever noticing it before. So sad face emoji over that. I don't know if this is going to work real well, because this nib is definitely on the fine side. Yeah. That was not amazing for showing the shading. This ink shades, but it is kind of pale. Honestly, it's discontinued ink, and it's bright, it's happy, but it doesn't make me sad that it's discontinued. So we get to my Montblanc 332. No, sorry, Montblanc 32. Bird splat. Bird splat. For those who are keeping track at home. And what I have heard called an intarsia nib, which means fingernail. So this is a Montblanc 32. I know that this one's an extra fine. The ink in it is Ackermann. Grünmark Smaragd. Which is something like Vegetable Market or whatever. Good thing I'm not in radio. Oh, you had 5 seconds of dead air. How dare you? Sorry, man. They can't see you. Dead air means dead time. Nobody knows you're there. Guess I couldn't do radio. But I've got the face for radio. All right, there we go. Montblanc 32. Now I'll get to my sweetheart. The very beautiful. Let's get a close-up. Yeah. My very beautiful Parker Duofold International. I've looked at trying out a couple other nibs for these. There's actually quite a selection out there if you go outside the US market, but wow, are they expensive. Haven't quite talked myself into them yet. So this ink is Herbin, J. Herbin, Bleu, Myosotis, which I dumped out of its stupid little heart-shaped bottle and put into an Ackermann bottle. So much easier to fill now. It's a decently shading ink, not amazing, but shading. An attractive color of blue. It's almost as pretty as Parker Quink washable blue. Let's see if I get any hate comments over that remark. Platinum President. Get these while you can. They are discontinued. The nib lives on in the far more expensive Platinum Izumo. Mine has a medium nib in it, and the ink is Noodler's Black Swan. Almost used up. I have about 4 milliliters left. Just a nice shading ink. This medium nib is nothing to write home about. Not good, not bad, just kind of, it's okay. Damning with faint praise, I guess. I mean, it does its job. And I think if I were to buy a fine, I would be telling you, ooh, yeah, that's a little too fine. So this would be a good daily writer type of pen, I think. Except for the whole, you have to cap it and uncap it, and it's a screw cap and stuff. All right, my last pen is from North Macedonia. This pen spent 80 years locked in an attic. The person who hid it in an attic was a retailer who sold fine pens and other small luxury items. And when he heard that a certain group of Nazis were coming to North Macedonia, or whatever that area was called at that time, he decided he's going to hide all of his stuff in his house. So, fought a little world war. Then the communists came and said, yeah, let's call this whole thing in a couple other countries Yugoslavia. And so he thought, well, better hide him a little bit longer. And then he died. And his relatives, just a few years ago, were cleaning out his attic, the attic, to renovate, and they discovered a whole bunch of pens hidden behind the wall. So I'll put a link to that story in my video description, but this is one of those pens. You might recognize by the more modest bird splat on the top that's not even white what brand this is. So this is indeed a Montblanc. Yeah, they didn't always look like the 149. So this is a Montblanc 332. And this has an extra fine nib. And the ink in it is Lamy. Turquoise. And yeah, this nib is quite a joy. I'm not sure how this thing is going to go, but we'll do our best here. I like Lamy turquoise ink. I think it's very attractive. In fact, I have a couple more turquoises to use up. But I think in the end, I'm going to come back to Lamy turquoise. And that will be my turquoise of choice. So there you go. Before we return to my face, I will be in Fargo with my students for Science Olympiad. Last time I went on the road, I took a pen roll and I hated it because it was like that big around in my luggage. So I'm going to take a more discreet. I was looking for a word that means small that starts with P, and all I can think of is pequeño, but that's Spanish, not English. So there must be an English word that means small, like that starts with a P, and I'll think of it as soon as I shut this video. Petite. The word I was looking for was petite. But anyway, holds 4 pens, which is how many I took with me on the road last time. And again, just in a much smaller package. Who made it? I don't know. In India. Made in India. That's all the branding I get, so your guess is as good as mine. So those are the fountain pens I've been using throughout the week. I just remembered something, so I'll be right back. April 7th, stop doing okay. Bad to use verbal fillers on video. On April 7th, I did a video where I showed dash cam footage. This is the dash cam that I currently use in my car. It is a, oh my god, Rove R2, or is it Rove? Anyway, ROVE R2-4K. It is got some features I've wanted, like GPS, I thought would be fun. It shows my speed, which honestly, the reason I got a dash cam is I was sitting in traffic in my hometown about a week before I was set, maybe even less than a week, before I was set to move to North Dakota. And yes, back then there was a stoplight in my hometown. There's 3 now, I believe. But no, there was 2 back then. But anyway, nobody cares. I was at the main one, like on Main Street, where, 2 major highways cross. Anywho, sitting there, and I just got a bad feeling, and I paused for a second, and I saw 2 cars go quench. And the cops asked me, well, did one of them drive out on a red light? And I'm just like, I sat here, I'm the car in the front, and I have no flippin' clue if the light had changed or not. Don't know. That is something that has always haunted me. It's part of that eyewitness thing. Eyewitnesses are not as reliable as we like to think they are. You think you recall something clearly, and then you talk to somebody else who went through the same exact thing, and you're like, I don't remember any of that. Family stories are like that. Stories about things that happen in classrooms. Anything. And and for the way you get from an event, the more and more our recollection is influenced by other people talking, recollections of other things. So yeah, our memory is not what we think. So anyway, that event has always haunted me because I'm just like, what if I'm actually in a traffic accident? Well, I'm 48 years old now. I have never been in a traffic accident. I've had a couple of whoopsies with a deer. I've never had a traffic accident. I've been backed into, but I've never had a traffic accident. Had a couple close calls. I've done a few stupid things. Then the other driver's like, honk, honk. And I'm just like, yeah, I know, that was stupid. My bad. Nobody got hurt, thank God. I've had those. I've had where the other guy does something stupid. I'm not a honker. If I actually honk my horn, it's because I'm getting out of the car and actually bump it with my elbow. Or, like, I gotta get your attention. I don't know how else to get it. So, anyway. So, when I discovered dash cams, I immediately had to buy one. And then I discovered how nice they were for recording and doing videos. Now, this particular one, I should have done this in the close-up camera, comes with a extra lens, kind of a filter thing over top of the main lens. And it's a polarizing filter. It's supposed to reduce glare and so on. But since I bought this thing, it's supposed to have just the most wonderful image quality. And I've just been, sucks. 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 Sucks, sucks, sucks. So, a short time after I got it, I looked at it and I said, oh, there's a piece of film over the lens. So I peeled it off. Great. Image sucked. 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 Sucked some more. And I was going a couple months like this. I was actually to the point of seriously thinking, maybe the camera just sucks. And last weekend, when I was... Yeah, was this last weekend? Must have been. Anyway, 2 days after I published Pens in Use on April 5th, so this would have been April 7th, I was looking at this and said, I see a tab in there. That's when I discovered I could unscrew this cover that's over the lens. And yeah, there was a piece of plastic inside it. And I think it worked wonders. So I had plans this weekend, or this past weekend, of going... I was going to go to Montana, actually, visit Medicine Rocks, Ekalaka, and then come back into North Dakota through Camp Crook, which means absolutely nothing to most of you, but beautiful trip anyway. And I thought this would be a good test of the dash cam. But I, of course, sick, so I stayed home and shivered and let snot drain out of my nose, whatever. But I can't do it this coming weekend because, State Science Olympiad. So I'm going to have to treat myself the weekend after State Science Olympiad and take this dash cam somewhere pretty and see how it does. But I'm going to close this video with some scenery that I see every week. It's not amazing. It's not the time of the year when you're like, oh my gosh, the prairie is so pretty. You're not going to have that feeling. It's brown. It's recovering from winter. And you know what? She's not pretty yet. Pretty comes when it starts to turn green. Flowers are coming out. Crops are starting to grow. Pretty comes back, when the wheat is ready to be harvested. When you can see fields waving in the wind. Those kind of things. So, coming out of winter... not pretty, but it's what I have with the film all removed. So anyway, that's really all I have. I'm Science Olympiad brain this week, recovering from cold brain. Still have a little bit of cold if you can't tell from my voice. But when I go to Science Olympiad, I am planning to record. I'm not quite sure how I'll do the writing. I might have to cheat and do the writing at home. But I'm going to, a number of years ago I did some footage, just kind of random videos, this is before shorts came along, of my progress through Science Olympiad. And what I think I'm going to do is do pens in use around that. And I showed you the pen case I'm going to use, so I'll have 4 pens with me. I'll just talk about various things that I see, various things going on, and insert pens at various locations. So a little bit different format from the traditional pens in use. Hopefully, well, no driving footage because I don't have to drive. I get to ride as a passenger on the bus with kids, 16 teenagers. Help me. But at the end of it, they will all fall asleep. And I will be on a bus with teenagers and not able to fall asleep. So that'll be fun. But anyway, I will film around all of that and edit it together somehow into a pens in use. So look forward to that for the next pens in use. And until then, if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I'd invite you to subscribe. And hey, do you have something like my battle with the film where you're just like, wow, that was so obvious, I can't believe I didn't see that, and why am I even admitting this to people? I should just shut up so people don't think I'm stupid. Do you have one of those stories? Or do you get to ever have fun escorting 16 teenagers 6 hours away from their home? 350, 60 miles from home? Let us know down in the comments. Maybe you're smarter than me and don't do those things. So, anyway, I want to thank you for watching. Talk to you later.